My name is Michael, and this is a story I never thought I'd have to tell. My wife, Victoria, and I had been together for 6 years. We had a good life, a stable home, a steady routine, and a beautiful 1.5-year-old son named Ethan. Victoria was stunning, with long legs, delicate skin, and a figure that turned heads wherever she went. I loved her deeply, with all my heart. She worked at a private company, and from what she told me, her colleagues were friendly and close-knit. But something about her upcoming office Christmas party made me uneasy. It wasn't jealousy or fear, it was a strange, unexplainable sense of dread. Victoria's preparation for the party only heightened my anxiety. For 2 weeks, she was in a frenzy, shopping, trying on dresses, picking out shoes, and even choosing a new perfume. The scent she chose was one I didn't like at all. When I told her, she just smiled and said, "You won't be there anyway." I needed just for one evening. Her dress was revealing, with a deep neckline and high heels. I cautiously asked if it was appropriate, but she laughed it off. "Relax, I just want to look beautiful." The girls and I even made a bet about who'll look the best. The party was scheduled from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. on December 30th. I tried to shake off my unease, but it lingered. Victoria had never given me a reason to doubt her before. She had always been honest and loyal. That evening, I helped her fasten her bracelet and saw her off in a taxi. At the last moment, I asked, "Are you sure you should go?" She shook her head. "I can't skip it. My boss doesn't like last-minute cancellations." I sighed and let her go, though something felt off. By 10 p.m., I called her. She answered but sounded distracted. "We're having fun. We might stay a bit longer," she said. In the background, I heard a man's voice calling her to dance. My stomach dropped. 2 hours passed, and she didn't return. I called again, but her phone was off. I couldn't sit still. I called her friends, but no one answered. The only number I had from her office was her colleagues, but it was also unreachable. I didn't sleep that night. Every 15 minutes, I checked my phone. My mind raced with worst-case scenarios. If she wasn't back by morning, I decided I'd go to the police. I had already taken Ethan to my mom's house, just in case. Victoria finally showed up the next evening, December 31st, around 8 p.m., just a few hours before the new year. She was cheerful, with sparkling eyes, and kissed me passionately. I stared at her, unable to believe she was back. "Where were you?" I asked. She widened her eyes in mock surprise. "At the party, of course. My phone died. You didn't even call, did you?" I stayed silent. She acted as if nothing had happened, heading straight to the shower and then the kitchen, avoiding any conversation. I tried to ask where she'd been all that time, but she just smiled and said, "Let's talk later, okay?" I welcomed the new year with a heavy heart. Victoria, on the other hand, was relaxed. She told me how much she loved me, how happy she was, even sat on my lap and kissed me. But I knew something had changed. Her behavior felt forced, her smiles unnatural. She had never been this affectionate before. I could tell she was hiding something. After a few glasses of champagne, she fell asleep. I didn't drink much, just a symbolic sip at midnight. By 2 a.m., she was tired and went to bed. I stayed up, my mind racing. The next morning, I decided to investigate. I knew where the party had been held and drove there. It was January 1st, and the roads were empty. I found the security guard, a woman in her 50s, and she confirmed that the company had celebrated there. But she also revealed that they had prepaid not just the restaurant but hotel rooms as well. I asked to see the security footage, but she refused, citing confidentiality. However, one of the guards was more talkative. For a small fee, he showed me the footage and even gave me a copy on a USB drive. What I saw shattered me. Victoria wasn't drunk. She was swaying her hips as she walked to a hotel room, a man's arm around her waist. They stopped at the door, kissed passionately, and went inside. An hour later, the man left, only to return with another man. The camera in the hallway partially captured what happened inside. I saw Victoria with both men, doing things I never imagined she was capable of. She had never been like that with me. I was numb. They drank, laughed, kissed, and continued their activities until the early hours. One man left around 6 a.m., the other stayed a bit longer. Victoria finally left the room and went to her colleague's room, where she stayed until the evening. The footage ended with Victoria and her colleague getting into a taxi. I drove home like a madman, my mind racing. When I got back, Victoria was irritated, but her expression changed when she saw me. "Where were you? Why wasn't your phone on?" she asked, her voice trembling. I calmly took out my phone and turned it on in front of her. "I didn't turn it off." "Strange that no one called me," I said. For the first time, I saw tension on her face. I didn't wait. "Victoria, tell me the truth. Where were you all night?" She looked away. "At the party. I drank too much. We took a taxi, and I fell asleep. My colleague took me to her place. I was sick all day and couldn't leave." I nodded. "Great, let's go thank your colleague then." She hesitated. "I can't. I'm not feeling well. I need to get ready. I'm supposed to visit my parents for the holidays." I didn't argue. Instead, I quietly said, "Maybe you'd like to watch a new movie. The main character is you now." She froze. I left the room, grabbed my laptop, and connected the USB drive. When I returned, Victoria was already crying. I played the footage. She broke down, her words incoherent. "I didn't want this. I was forced." I coldly asked if we should go to the police. She desperately shook her head. Then she started talking, her voice breaking. "I went too far. I don't know how it happened. It's not true. You misunderstood. I love you. I love Ethan. Don't make rash decisions. We're a family. He needs a father. You're a good husband. I love only you." Her words cut through me like a knife. She swore her love, talked about our son, our family, but all I could see were those images of her with other men. "What were you thinking?" I shouted. "Did you think about your family, your son, when you took those men to your room? Was this how all your office parties went?" Victoria fell to her knees, sobbing. "Forgive me. It was only once. I swear it'll never happen again. I don't want to lose you. Ethan needs both of us. I hate myself for this. I can't imagine life without you and our son." I clenched my fists, trying to keep my composure. "You knew you wouldn't come back on time. You knew everything was prepaid. Who were those men? Was the second one also a coincidence?" Her tears dried up. She sat in silence, staring blankly. "I understand. I didn't want this, but it happened. I'll do anything to save our family. You and Ethan are my life." I couldn't listen anymore. I silently packed my things. She didn't move until I headed for the door. Then she snapped, screaming, grabbing my jacket, begging me to stay. But I had made my decision. I left, called my mom, and told her to keep Ethan until the holidays were over. "Don't answer Victoria's calls or let her take him. I'll explain later." I booked a hotel room, ordered food and alcohol, and lay on the bed, replaying my life. When had it all gone wrong? Eventually, the alcohol numbed me, and I fell into a heavy sleep. I was woken by a call from my father-in-law. "When are you coming? We're waiting for you, Victoria, and Ethan." I took a deep breath. "We're not coming." He was confused, but I hung up. When I returned home, Victoria looked at me with hope, but I had made up my mind. "I'm filing for divorce," I said firmly. "I've thought it through. I'll never be able to forgive you. Pack your things. This is my apartment, bought before we married." She paled. "What about Ethan? I'll file for custody. He'll stay with me. You've shown yourself to be an unfit mother." I turned and left. This time, she didn't try to stop me. But that wasn't the end. I found the two men, Victoria's colleagues, and gathered information on them. Both were married with children. I didn't confront them. Instead, I sent their wives the footage of their husband's infidelity. I don't know how it ended for them, but it didn't matter to me anymore. I started a new life. This story is bitter and painful, but it became the starting point for my rebirth. Sometimes, betrayal by those we love the most becomes our greatest lesson. If you found this story compelling, like and subscribe. There are more real-life stories to come that will leave no one indifferent. Take care of yourselves, and don't turn a blind eye to the obvious. Until next time.